Hello, good morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
Yay.
How are
There.
you?
Yes, yes. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, very good, very good. All right, so I am going to pull up the link and so we can share it. Good morning. As we get ourselves ready and share, go ahead and be sure to let us know where you're viewing us at. Let us know where you're coming in at, and be sure throughout the broadcast to give us some hearts, give Chenoa some hearts, some love, some support. So, because all of that is going to be really good.
Okay,
All
I
right,
think I'll
one
just
moment
have to hold the
here.
phone.
Okay.
Hey, cousin. My cousin Sylvia is watching.
Oh, yay. Hello, Cousin Sylvia. Hi, Kanisha from Jacksonville, Florida. Hi there. We're going to share this soon as you get it shared, and we will be all set to get going.
Hey, Memphis. That's my hometown. Hey, Memphis in the house.
Good to have Memphis.
Yes, yes.
All righty. One more thing here.
Hey, Jason. Thank you for watching. Hey, Sylvia.
This is going to be a great, great, great interview. So go ahead and share it. Go ahead and hit the share button and get it out so that other homeschool families and those who might be considering homeschooling can be encouraged and prepared and ready to see this as well. So be sure to go ahead and share it. All right, I have one more. We got one more minute or so, and then we'll be all set to go. I'm going to put it in one more other place. All righty. Okay, all right. Hey, Jason. Hey, Sylvia.
Hi, Demosi. Thank you for watching all the way from Dubai.
Oh, wow. One Dubai in the house. Hey.
Yes.
Hey. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All righty. I think we're set. I got it. Okay. All righty. All right. Yep, it's going to be great. We have going to have a great interview. This is Chenoa Alamu today. And so good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are looking and all of you who will do a replay later on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, here we go, Chenoa.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. I'm Angela Jordan Perry, and my purpose-driven life is to make a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide. And we have our special guest today, and I'm turned up to introduce you to our special guest, Chenoa Alamu. Yay!
Good
Alamu.
morning. Good morning,
So good morning,
everybody.
Chenoa. Chenoa, are you ready to make it happen,
Yes,
Chenoa?
I am. I am ready to make it happen. Thank you for having
All
me,
right.
Angela. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you. So Chenoa Alamu is a homeschooling mom of 2 beautiful children, Victoria and Jonathan, ages 12 and 10. She is in her 2nd year of homeschooling, playing the violin since the age of 3. She earned her Bachelor and Master of Music degrees from the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, both in violin performance. She's completed 4 years towards her Doctorate of Musical Arts, also in violin performance. She's also the founder of AlaMusic Academy, where she teaches violin and viola students. So, Chenoa, you are definitely near and dear to my heart because my daughter's also studying violin performance, and I think this is how we first connected some years ago, just from the love of violin. So, Chenoa, I have shared with these girlfriends, and we got a guy here, a short bio about you. Please tell us more about yourself and how you actually got started in homeschooling.
Oh gosh, that story is very interesting. Are you ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Well, back in 1995, actually, is when I first came across a homeschooling room. And it was actually the homeschooling room of Christian singer, songwriter Michael Card. And for those of you who have never heard of Michael Card, you may have heard of El Shaddai, one of the most popular worship songs out there. He is the writer of that song. And so we were getting ready to go on tour or travel or go somewhere. And of course, the pit stop was his home. And so I walked in their homeschooling room. His wife, Susan, homeschooled their 4 children. So I see this large room with books and things. But what really got my attention was they had a wall of butterflies, these nice, well-maintained butterflies, like in picture frames. And so, I figured Mike got them from the Smithsonian, and brought them home and they just put it on their wall as inspiration or something. And his wife was like, no, we got those from our backyard. And for some reason, that just really impressed me. And I made the decision right then and there, before having children, before even being married, that home education was going to be my choice for educating my children. So from then on, I just did all the research, looked up all the curriculum choices, talked to different families, asked questions, really started to retrain my mind about what real learning is, what real education is, and of course, what statistics show about homeschooling children versus children who attend public and private schools. So I was just all over it. And then I actually started homeschooling. And it was a totally different story. It's like everything I researched just kind of went out the window because actually doing something and dreaming and planning about it can be 2 different things. But to answer your question, that is how I came across homeschooling and made the decision to do so.
Okay, all right. So how long? So you've been homeschooling for 2 years.
Yes.
So how long of investigation and research and all that did you do before you actually started?
Oh gosh, I probably knew all the curriculum that was out there. I had joined homeschool groups. I mean, I was, like I said, talking to homeschoolers, hanging with homeschooling families. I was acting like people thought I was actually homeschooling before I actually homeschooled. So yeah, I pretty much knew what was out there. I pretty much knew, here. And then, like I said, actually doing it became a totally different ball game. So
okay. So I gather from your personality, you're the type of person that you got to know all the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, boom, 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 in order. So then you dive into it based on that knowledge. You're expecting success because you have done your research, you know it, so you're expecting success.
Right.
So,
they make it look so easy. I'm just like, yeah, choose this curriculum. And yeah, I like I said, I know the benefits. I know this, that, and the other. And then it actually happens. So, like
okay, so tell us, how was that first start, your first year?
Oh
I mean, now you're 2 years into it, so tell us what did it look like when you first got started?
Well, actually, this is my second attempt. My first attempt, because see what had happened was
Okay.
they don't tell you that, or what I failed to realize is, I knew about the deschooling. I had always heard that your first year of homeschooling, you just deschool. You don't worry about, a set curriculum and all that. Just kind of do what you want to do to kind of wash your mind of public school education. And so my very first attempt, I remember going into Walmart, and it was just myself and the kids. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like nobody's in here. I don't see any other children. I felt extremely uncomfortable. I mean, very uncomfortable. I was like, people gonna think I'm just doing something wrong. It just really felt wrong at the time. And so I put him back in public school.
So how long of a period was that,
That
Chenoa,
was
from when
a
you
week. I lasted a week, Angela, my
Okay.
very first time making that leap. Okay, so evidently I'm thinking it was an issue of timing, which I do believe is a factor in making this decision. Make sure it's the right time. I know, Shiva, right? So then the second time I made the attempt, I was like, okay. Because the thing is, I de-schooled during the summer before I made, so I'm thinking that counted, right? Because all the kids were out, but see, I didn't realize, well, all the kids are out of school. Everybody is, out and about and doing things or that. But when school started, and it was just me and the children, and we were out looking at each other like, where is everybody? That just became the reality of what we were actually doing. And so anyway, good morning, Shatona. And so the second time I was much better prepared mentally. I didn't realize that I had to prepare mentally to partake of this journey as well. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
So I would say to anyone who is venturing on this path for the first time, know that homeschooling is just as much for you as the parent as much as it is for the children, because especially if you yourself have gone through the public school system, private school system, or any system of group education, so to speak, there is definitely a mindset, a fixed mindset that is already there when you start to homeschool. So you yourself as the parent have to renew your mind as to what this is all about, what your particular homeschool will look like, what it'll feel like, learning your children all over again, what they are really capable of, what their learning style really is, because some of us, if we depended on the school to tell us how smart our kids are, we'd be crying.
Yes.
Especially if we looked at test scores and especially if your child has a learning challenge, or I would just say just a different way of learning. A lot of our children would be in trouble if it wasn't for homeschooling. So it's a lot that goes into it.
That's good. I mean, that is really good point. Now, just unpack what you just said as far as parents. If you've had, your kids were in public school prior, you also need to renew your mind. Tell us, what did that look like for you? Explain that. Unpack that.
Oh my God. Well, I think the first thing is that my homeschool experience did not have to look like anybody else's. Because, see, I purposely surrounded myself with veterans, with people who had been doing this for some years. And so they had it going on. I mean, whiteboards up, chalkboards, PowerPoints, just all this different stuff. And so it's really interesting because crossing into 2018, for some reason, I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to take the limits off of what my homeschool is going to look like. And I'm going to focus on learning. I'm going to focus on making it fun. I'm going to focus on, I guess, being a little lenient with structure, and just realize that as long as some kind of learning, bless you, as long as some kind of learning is taking place, that I'm just, in other words, I took the pressure off of myself for my homeschool to look a certain way, that it had to look like this family's, or what this even what this curriculum would suggest you're supposed to do, on a daily basis or an ongoing basis. I just decided to make it mine. Make it my experience, and that's okay, because my children are with me, they're with me, and that's the best thing that I know is right for them at this time in their lives.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Very good. Listen, y'all, this is good. We're with Chenoa Alamu. If this is good stuff, be sure to hit the share button, invite some friends to come in. She is sharing a lot of great wisdom and insights for those who have been homeschooling for a good little while and those who have been homeschooling for a short period of time, like myself. 18 years, you get in the rut of doing the same thing and you don't take the limits off. So tell us, what did your second year look like? If you took your limits off, give us the view, your days, that second year. What has it
Hmm.
looked like? What was different?
Well, honestly, the first half of the second year, 2017, 2018 school year, I was a bit more structured. I remember telling my daughter, her name's Victoria, okay, we
Okay.
got to do something every day. And, now we're going to get started at 10 o'clock and we're going to be done at 2 o'clock. And here's your math. And this is what we're doing for science. And this is what we're doing. But like I said, crossing into 2018, I just took a different, it's just like something shifted within me. And I'm thinking, and I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, everyone, I'm not saying that we shouldn't cover these basic subjects, the core subjects. But for example, I had Friday set aside for our extracurricular day, just like they do in school. Just like they do in school. On Fridays, you have your music, you have your art, you have your, you know, drawing or just whatever you choose to do that's considered extracurricular. Well, I have a daughter who's a budding artist. And thus far, if you see some of the paintings that she has done, her only teacher has been YouTube. And so she has started to want to paint more during the week. So that's just kind of one example of kind of taking the limit off and allowing her to express herself more in her artistic gift, during the week as opposed to just on Friday.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
think that's
Okay.
another thing, making my school look less like public school, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like have a more flow to it. And one thing I didn't mention, when I decided to bring my kids home the second time, is that my son didn't quite transition the way I thought he would. He was missing his male friends. He was missing that social interaction with people. So I did put him back in homeschool our first year. So it was just my daughter and I. But then
Okay.
just over the holidays, he was like, you know what, Mom, I'm getting bored with school. They're disruptive. It's chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
It's this, that,
Mm-hmm.
and the other. So
Mm-hmm.
he has since come home the start of 2018. So, and it's
Okay.
wonderful. It's really
Okay.
wonderful. I hope I
Okay.
answered
So
your question.
yes, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. So
Okay.
with now you have, public school, come home, back to public school, come home. So are you now like homeschool it all the way? Are you still open to the idea of public school? What changed it? What now has made you like, okay, this is it?
Um, I think my son needed to see for himself the value of homeschooling, or at least to know for himself that maybe public school isn't a good fit for him. And I'm
Okay.
not surprised, because right around this age, especially for Black boys, they start to
Mhm.
get bored with school. And I know what my son is capable of academically, and so he just had to find out for himself. Now, to answer your
Mhm.
question as to whether it is my desire to homeschool them throughout and
Okay.
graduate them. That is my desire, but we'll just see. We'll just say,
Yeah.
because while I am very pro homeschool, I'm also open to what is best for them at any particular season, any particular time, in their life. So I'm not just, oh, they just got to be homeschooled, forever.
Okay.
Like I said, while that is my desire, I am flexible
Okay.
with that desire.
Okay. All right. Very good. So now, we're going to talk about this question that has always been the big stomping ground for most people who either decide to homeschool,
Uh-huh.
considering it, or are home. This is being a one income family. Now, you're a single mom of these two children. Tell us what that looks like. I mean, even if you have, two, you're married, no, normally homeschooling is one income and you have to figure out other ways to make that income, or how to make it. Tell us your story. How are you making it
Well,
happen, Alamu?
that's a very good question. After my divorce, that's when, of course, I was faced with um, taking care, being financially responsible for myself and my children. And I knew that it had to be in a way where I could, comfortably homeschool. Um, and so I decided to open up a studio. I had been asked over the years, to teach and that kind of thing. And I was just like, no, I don't, I was kind of raised during the, while I was getting my degrees in music and advocate, there was this thought that those who can make a living, be as a soloist or just an orchestral musician and what have, and those who can't, they teach. So I kind of carried that in my mind, like, ooh, if I start teaching, then that's admitting, it was kind
Ah,
of like admitting a failure to myself. So anyway, fast forward to, the divorce, and like I said, being faced with having to care for two children. That's when I said, you know what, Chenoa, you're just gonna have to do what you have to do. So I do start teaching violin and viola in the afternoons for about 3 or 4 hours. Um, it's something that I still have to juggle in terms of finding that balance. Um, I do wish that, and eventually I will look for other ways to kind of not have to um, sit down and be at a certain time period with making a living, if that makes sense. Um, because I do want I do desire to have more time freed up to homeschool or just have that time with my kids, because it's like sometimes we get started really good in the mornings or whatever, and then I got to start teaching, so
yeah,
they may or may
yeah,
not have finished something, and then I'm not always, able to just stop and see if what they're doing, if they're on the right path with something or whatever. So I hope that makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's tough. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's definitely doable. I'm grateful that my parents put me in something that, can actually make me money, and that I can,
Right.
use it to teach others and that kind of thing. I have about 15 students, so I'm very grateful. I'm very
Beautiful,
grateful,
beautiful.
but no, it's not easy.
Yeah, and that's the truth of it, because like I said, most of us are one income family, or the husband may be the main provider and the wife is figuring out a side something to bring in extra income. So it's possible,
Hmm.
even for yourself being the sole provider for your home,
Hmm.
it's possible to homeschool and operate off one income and make it all work. It won't
Right.
be this picture perfect look all the time, like you said. Sometimes you
No.
stop, you got to stop. Okay, now I got to come, but
Hmm.
it's doable. It's doable, and the commitment
Yes.
keeps you there. It keeps you there.
Absolutely.
What is your
Absolutely.
why? Share with us your why for homeschooling.
Thank you for asking that question. I wanted to raise leaders. I wanted to raise adults with character, with integrity. Um, I wanted to raise critical thinkers, um, because I tell my kids all the time just how bombarded we are with different messages. It could just be anything, but our minds are constantly being um, at war. The battle really is here. Whether it's through commercials, marketing, um, So I wanted to raise critical thinkers, raise people
Yeah,
who aren't who know who they are as
yeah.
people, as human beings, as Black people in particular. Um, so it was really nothing about academics, but everything to do with, the character and the heart of my children, and
Mm,
using academics as a tool, to maybe test their character or test their honesty or test their integrity you know. So
Okay.
that has been
Yeah.
my why. Now, have I stuck to that? Because again, we get the message that it's the academics that's more important. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta get the math. You gotta make sure they're on grade level. You gotta make sure, you know, they're testing at a certain level and all of that. So if you're not careful, your why can get muddled over the course of your journey. But if you keep
Right.
your why at the forefront, you know, then you should be okay. Make sure you always keep your why, even if you have to revisit that why, remind yourself of that why, then you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Very good, Alamu. Let's dive a little bit deeper here.
Uh-oh.
All right, tell us, tell us, take us back to, if you can think in your 2 years, your worst day of homeschooling. The day that almost made you quit. Now, you told us you quit for a week after a week and you went back, but this was like, I, I'm done. I can't do this. But you didn't quit, and that's why you're the successful homeschooler you are now for 2 years.
Woo! Okay. I'm going to be honest and say I've had quite a few of those days, especially my first year. Especially my first year, and I even want to say my second year, because again, I had everybody else's kind of viewpoint of homeschooling. I had, you know, like I said, comparing myself to other brilliant homeschooling moms that I
Sure.
know. Um, and so, and again, placing pressure on myself, also thinking about my ex-husband, because one of the reasons it took me so long to homeschool is because he was not for homeschooling. And
Okay.
so now that we're no longer together, you know, I have to make thinking to myself, well, what if he asks the kids what 2 + 2 is and they don't know? Or, you know, just kind of this mental undue pressure, you know, that I
Right.
placed on myself, although I am blessed to be able to homeschool in one of the easiest states in this country to do so. So I would say I've had quite a few of those days where I'm like, you know, I don't know if I can do this. I've needed a lot of encouragement, just to be honest. You know, second guessing myself, second guessing my ability, wondering if I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
mess my kids up, if their self-esteem is going to suffer as a result, because I'm not always patient, you know, especially with my daughter who does have a learning challenge. And so, again, crossing into 2018, Angela, something just shifted. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I'm just taking the limits off and I'm just going to make sure I do something every day. You know, as
Mm-hmm.
long as we do something every day. Yes, we have our math. Yes, we have our science. Yes, we have
Mm-hmm.
this, that, and the other. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so if I were to say anything in that regard, just please don't
Mm-hmm.
compare your homeschool with anybody else's. You are a unique individual. You are unique. Your children are unique. And so
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to use that uniqueness to educate
Mm-hmm.
your children, you
Yes.
know, because there's a
Yes.
reason why you were given those children, you know. So,
Alamu, that's good. I think that is so key. And you said a very key phrase right there. Find your uniqueness. Find your uniqueness. And when you do that, that's where we thrive out of anything that we do in life, right? Anything that we do, and we thrive in being ourselves and how we do it our way,
yeah,
right?
because for
So,
example, I'm going to speak to the creatives out there. You know, I'm a creative. You know, I haven't always called myself that, but you know, like I said, one thing about homeschooling is that it shows you up and it helps you grow as a person, as a parent, as well as your children. So, you know, I'm not a structured person. My schedule is not going to look the same week to week because I'm an
mhm,
orchestra musician. I teach. I may have gigs. I may be asked to go out of town and travel for music stuff. So I can't do the regular 7 hour school day. I can't. I don't
mhm,
work, you know, I call it kind of organized chaos or some type of organized flexibility, if that makes sense. You know, my schedule
Yeah.
has, so again, that's part of taking the limit off. I'm not going to hold
That's
myself
good.
to something that doesn't naturally work for me. You
That's
know,
good.
and I know people
I
say,
like
well, children like need structure, they need this, what have you. I mean, our structure is some type of learning is going to be happening every day. That is our structure. Now, what it is or what it looks like, that might look different, you
I love
know.
it.
So I think too, the more you know yourself, know who you are as a person, I think the better as well. So let
I
me
love
hush.
it. I love it. So,
Thank
so
you.
Alamu, tell us your proudest moment of homeschooling.
Oh my God. You know, honestly, like I said, my son is finding his groove. We just pulled him out of public school since 2017, you know, Christmas holidays and whatnot. But one of my proudest moments is my daughter. She is a budding artist, and I know had she been in public school, bogged down with with testing and dealing with her dyslexia and all these other things, that never would have come to the forefront.
Mm,
That never. We're looking at the possibility of her becoming an entrepreneur at the age of 12.
beautiful.
If I play
Beautiful.
my cards right, which is why I haven't quite moved in that direction just yet, because I want to make sure she's set up correctly, but
Yeah.
if we do this right, or set her up correctly, she really shouldn't have to work a 9 to 5 ever in her life,
Wow.
like ever.
Beautiful.
And that's just, yeah,
Beautiful.
yes.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
YouTube
You all,
has
this
been
is
her teacher. So anyway, it's just amazing.
That's beautiful. You all, this is Chenoa Alamu with us today on Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. Give her your hearts, give her some love, thumbs up. She's being very transparent with us, very open, very vulnerable, and I appreciate that so much,
Thank
Chenoa.
you. You're
So let me ask you
welcome.
this. You all make sure you hit the share button, get your friends on here, and let them hear what Chenoa has to say. Now, here's some quick questions to pick brain. So these real quick
Okay.
answers. Um, okay. What is your favorite quote that helps you through this homeschooling journey?
Oh gosh. I think, you know what? I think Dr. Shiva Quinn said it best. Help me, Lord Jesus. And I'm not joking. I think that's probably what I breathe the most. Like, Lord, help me. Lord, help me to make sure I'm on the right path. Please don't let me mess these kids up. Please let their self-esteem still be intact by the time. So help me is probably my biggest prayer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is something unique that you do or implement in your homeschooling that's unique just because of who you are? Is there something specific?
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. Probably just the fact that they have a musician as a mom. So
Mm,
they're with me a lot. They go to symphony rehearsals. They see the behind the scenes on how rehearsals take place. They attend concerts. They get to, um, so I think just the life that we live, having a mom as a musician, a working musician, is probably the uniqueness that I bring.
mm.
You know,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
Yes, yes. All right, tell us, Chenoa, a book that's in your library, a curriculum that's in your library that you feel every homeschooler must have, or every Black homeschooler must have.
It's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. I would say for history, I feel like every Black homeschooler should have Our History Revealed by Alizah Yisrael. In fact, that's how she and I met, because I was looking for a homeschool curriculum for Black children. And she has written one. What I love about this history curriculum is that she teaches the history of the founding fathers and all of the typical American history, but she definitely, definitely adds us and makes us a part of the story, in ways that I know is not being taught in public school. So that is one, Our History Revealed. I want to say, what's another one? That's a very good question. Because honestly, I'm still like finding stuff that works. So I'm trying to think. So I don't typically stick with something too long, but with history, that was one that we definitely went all the way through with. Gosh, that's a great question.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. We'll take
Okay.
that one. We'll take that one. All right. Tell us,
Okay.
what is the best piece of advice you have received during your homeschooling journey?
That's a great question. That I've received, basically that that I am doing more for my children than the average public school. I know quite a few homeschoolers worry about gaps in learning. They just worry, are they covering all the basics? Are they, especially in particular in as it relates to academics, are we covering everything? Are there any gaps but if you really, really think about it with public school in particular, or structured, government school, there are gaps. They're not taught entrepreneurship. They're not taught financial literacy. They're not taught, I think in some schools, home economics has been taken out. A lot of these industrial things. I know when I was growing up in high school, they had shop for the boys and mechanics and those type of things. Those things aren't in school. So, I think when someone finally says, you can you can do no worse than what's already being done in the public schools, that just, again, freed me up, just took the pressure off of me to be their mom who happens to educate them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Do you have a favorite online resource, a favorite tool, a favorite something that is your go-to in your homeschool?
That's a very good question. Not really. I just tend to jump around quite a bit, and I find a number of things. It could just be a nugget here, a nugget there. I guess if I did have a choice, it would be homeschooling with dyslexia. I have found her information to be quite valuable, particularly for my daughter. If you are Black and a homeschooling mom, I highly recommend the African American Homeschool Moms group. That particular Facebook group has been very valuable. Again, I joined that group when I wasn't even homeschooling. I was flogging. But they let me in, and I answered all kind of, they answered all kind of questions, and they were very supportive, very uplifting, a wealth of knowledge and information in that particular group. So yeah, I would say those two in particular.
Okay. Now, is that Homeschool with Dyslexia? Is that a Facebook group or is that a book or?
It is a website. It is a
Okay.
website, Homeschooling with Dyslexia. I believe she's a mom of 7 or 8 children. Most of them are dyslexic, ADD, or have some, dysgraphia or, some type of learning challenge. And she's a wealth of information for anybody who has a child with special needs.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, here is the last question, the $1,000,000 question. Are you ready, Chenoa?
I am ready. I am ready.
So, although you've only been homeschooling 2 years, but if you had to start all over again, but you have your current wisdom, your current knowledge, skills, insights, what would you start off doing differently? What would it look like?
First of all, I would have made sure that I married somebody who was for homeschooling. I definitely would have done that. And then from there, I would have homeschooled from the beginning. Definitely would have homeschooled from the beginning. So, yeah.
Okay, very good, very good.
Yeah.
So at this time, any last words of advice or encouragement you'd like to give the homeschoolers? And then also let us know how we can reach out to you, how the girlfriends can reach out to you and know your handprint, what you have going on in the homeschool you want to share so that they can get on board with it.
Well, I am on Facebook. People know. I am on Facebook. Chenoa, Chenoa, Alamu, ALAMU. I also have a fan page, AlaMusic Academy, AlaMusic Academy. I'm really not on there too much, but I'm mostly on my profile page. Also, those who are serious about their health and want to learn more about plant-based eating, I also have a Facebook group called Plant-Based Babies. And you really have to be serious because there are some powerful things happening in that group where people's health is literally being changed and mindsets are being changed about food. In terms of advice and encouragement, just don't compare. No pressure. I understand that everyone's state laws are different for homeschooling. Of course, make sure you abide by those laws. But other than that, have fun. Enjoy your children. Get to know them as individuals. You know, take limits off of your children. You know, I'm talking to myself now because sometimes we can, you know, we know our children better than anyone. And in particular, if they have a learning issue or don't learn the way we learn, then we can tend to want to hold them in a box and say, well, they can only do this, or I wonder if they'll be ready for this. Just take the limits off. Take the limits off. And that way, things would, you know, your creative juices will flow, your mind will be freed up to be able to think and come up with solutions. Of course, if you have any type of spiritual base, you know, pray, meditate, but above all, use this time to really enjoy them as much as you can. Because I was thinking the other day, in 5 short years, my son will be 15. You know, and Victoria will be 13, and in 3 years she'll be 15, you know. So time is moving, time waits for no man, if we've always been told. So enjoy the journey.
Beautiful. Well, girlfriends, you are the average sum of the 5 people you hang around, and you've been hanging with Chenoa Alamu. Yes, so keep up the momentum and connect with other homeschooling families that bring value and positive impact to your life. As well, you know, remember to teach a child is to touch a life. And as we homeschool, we not only touch a life, but we shape the future by our efforts of homeschooling. So homeschool girlfriends, keep making that positive impact day after day, year after year. It's so, so worth it. Girlfriends Guide to Homeschooling. It is a grateful privilege of mine to have you all with us during this time. Just remember that you are there to make this positive impact on the lives of your children and encouragement and a positive impact on other homeschoolers. So thank you so much, Chenoa Alamu.
Thank you. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So, girlfriends, you all have a great day and share, and catch us next Wednesday, 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. I have 2 interviews in that day. So thank you, Chenoa. You're great.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
So much. Have a good one.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.